Would you like to try some? No? Sure. You can come on right up here if you'd like. There you go. Okay. And ma'am, would you like to try? Yes?
I have to be the designated.
You are the designated driver. Okay. Now, well, let's go ahead and pour myself some here. Okay. Okay. Now the nose of the wine again is probably the most important. What I would encourage you to do now, if you can, is go ahead and pick up your glass and just smell the wine real quick. Okay. Now what I want you to do is I want you to, what we're going to call is aerate the wine. So it's easier if you put it on the table and you just gently spin the wine in the glass. Okay? Do that a few times and then smell the wine and see if it smells a little bit different. Now, what that does is it essentially oxidizes the wine. It takes the wine, and as you're turning it, it's kind of filtering oxygen inside the wine itself. So if you think about like a rose that's closed, you add a little water and sunshine, it opens right up. That's kind of what wine does, specifically red wines. That's what it does. It just kind of opens right up. Okay. Now, what's unique about this wine is this is called the Sweet Vet Red. This is a private label wine here that's only available at the wine shop here. It's under the name Lake Mills Cellars. What I've found since when I opened the wine shop is that a lot of people would come in looking for a healthier style red, but they didn't like all the tannins in the red, that kind of dryness that dries in your mouth. Okay. So what I did is I worked with a winemaker, Chateau St. Croix here in Wisconsin, to kind of create a blend that would kind of do a couple of things. One, it would have the health benefits of red, but it would also have a great nose, but when you taste it, it would kind of be slightly sweet. So initially, the tip of your tongue is where you taste sweetness, so that's the first thing you taste is sweetness. But then as it kind of coats your mouth, and after a few seconds of it being in your mouth, it starts to dry out just a little bit. What made that really unique is it's a blend of 3 different varietals. It's a blend of Muscat, which is the sweet wine. It's a blend of Syrah, which is kind of, if you smell, it's kind of like peppery, oaky kind of smell. And Zinfandel. Now, Zinfandel, of course, a red Zinfandel. And what that does is that's going to really give it a lot of tan and a little pack on the tongue a little bit after you sample the wine. So that's kind of what the Sweet Vet Red does. So it's a little bit sweet, but then it kind of mellows out. And the reason for that is a lot of people that enjoy sweet wine, they're going to enjoy this one, generally speaking. And a lot of people that like a little bit drier of a red, like a Zinfandel or Cabernet, sometimes this also fits that bill. So it kind of does a little bit of both. Okay, any questions so far? Now, like I said, when people sample wine, like I said, most people usually do it wrong. They just take a quick drink and they judge. What's really important is that, again, the nose, when you smell wine, each bottle of wine has up to 200 different smells. Now your nose can actually, and your brain can actually interpret 2,000 different smells, 2,000 different unique smells. Whereas your tongue, if you think about it, it's sweet, sour, salty, and bitter. That's the only thing you taste. So that's why a lot of people, if they just take a quick drink, they judge it as, oh, it's too sweet. Okay, that's if you're not really trying to smell the wine to really pick up the nuances in that wine, you're only going to judge it on 4 criteria, and that's sweet, sour, salty, or bitter. So that's why really smelling it first and really starting to think about the way that it smells is very important before you actually take a drink. Now, of course, probably the most fun would be actually sampling the wine. So when you sample the wine, what I would tell you to do is just put it in your mouth, coat the entire side of your mouth, drink it, and then don't think about it. Okay, I don't want you to judge the first sip. The reason for that is because just a small glass of wine, it's highly concentrated in alcohol. This one runs probably about 14, make that 13.8% alcohol. Okay, so you can imagine what that's doing to your taste buds on that first taste. High in alcohol, your taste buds are opening all up. Okay, so it's going to be difficult to really judge what the wine's like. But at that second taste, you're really going to start to experience what the wine's about. The third taste is even going to be better than the second. And then I like to say the 4th or 5th glass, it'll be your favorite wine forever because you've been drinking it and you've finished the bottle and it's just very good. So, with that said, we've kind of gone through all the steps of wine. Does anybody have any questions for me? The oldest wine that we have here? You know, the thing that's unique about wine is that in years past, specifically French wines, they were made to be aged for a very long period of time. In fact, there are some wines that are on record now that date back to the late 1700s. Okay. Now, I'm not going to sample one of those wines because I don't know how good it's going to be. I'm sure it'd be incredible, because back in those days, they didn't make wine that was meant to be consumed immediately. Well, that has changed really in the last few decades. Now, the consumer, we're in a world now that everybody wants things really quick. Well, wine's no different. So winemakers know that. So they actually make wine now. About 95% of wine is meant to be consumed right after purchase. Okay. So with that said, I know that was kind of a long way to say how my wine is outside in the wine shop, but we have a few bottles of wine that are from the early 90s. I think we have a couple Cabernets, which generally age a little longer, probably 92, 93. But most of the wine is going to be in the 2000, 2001. Quite a few of the white wines that we have are 2006, 7, and 8. How long have we had the Sweet Vet Red? Let's see, I created this wine, I guess it was probably about October of last year. When we opened the shop, I knew that eventually I wanted to create my own wine. I tried unsuccessful, sort of, to create my own wine. So I worked with a winemaker to kind of create a very complex taste that I was really looking for. So it was probably the end of last year.
Can wine go bad?
Yes, wine can go bad. What happens is a couple of things. One, once the wine is open, it'll go bad quickly. So once it's exposed to air or exposed to oxygen, it'll go bad within the first few days. So what I would suggest is a couple things. If you open wine and you don't plan to drink the entire bottle, just make sure you cork it right away and you put it in the refrigerator, because that will slow down the process of the wine breaking down. Okay. Some wine actually goes bad out on the shelf. A couple different reasons for that. If the wine is exposed to extreme temperature, meaning it gets hot, it gets cold, hot, cold, hot, cold. If it has a variance like that, that'll age the wine very quickly. Okay, so what we encourage people to do when they buy wine and they're going to store it, to make sure that you don't store it in front of a window, because that sunlight will kind of bake the wine and it'll get cool at night and get hot. Don't put your wine rack in front of a register, a heat vent or register. And a lot of people like to put small wine racks on top of the refrigerator. That's not always the best thing to do, because the refrigerator emits heat, so that can cause the wine to be a little bit warmer than what it needs to be. The other thing is, what you've noticed with this wine here, is that this is a screw cap. Okay. At one time, not too long ago, people associated screw cap wines with cheap wines. Okay. I still hear that all the time here, that the screw cap wines are cheap. Although we could go out and look at the wine store, and we have probably I have a Cabernet from California that runs about $50 that has a screw cap. Okay, so that's not really an indication of quality of wine. But what that does do is it allows the wine to age without it being oxidized on its own. Okay, so for example, some of the wines that we have back here, they are cork. For example, the one that I have laying here is a cork wine. There are a few of them that have corks in them. Back in the day, they always told you to lay the wines on their side. The reason for that is because of the cork. What you're wanting to do is that wine needs to keep the cork moist so that it doesn't dry out. Because if the cork dries out, that's when the wine can go bad. That's why some wines can taste like vinegar. Specifically white wines. If you open a white wine that smells like vinegar, I probably wouldn't drink it. Or if you open a red wine and it smells like a basement or wet cardboard, that would be an indication that the wine went bad. Either it went bad in the bottle because the cork